Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I'm your host, Eric Smith, and today I'm talking about Dead Ringers, a novel by Christopher Golden. This is from St. Martin's Press, and as of this recording, it's pretty recent. Just came out a month or so ago. But it's Christopher Golden, so I wanted to pick it up as soon as I could and read it and review it. And what you have here with Dead Ringers is a story about doppelgangers. We start with Frank Lindbergh, and he's a guy who's not in the best place in his life at this point in time. His mother died recently. He has a drinking problem. He's unemployed. And he's hanging out at home one night, and he hears a noise in the kitchen. He goes in and runs into someone who looks exactly like him. His double, his doppelganger, his dead ringer, if you will. So the doppelganger attacks Frank and chains him up down in the basement. Then we jump to Tess Devlin, our main character. She's out on the streets of Boston and runs into her ex-husband, except this guy acts like he doesn't know her and denies being Nick, which is her ex-husband's name. So she gets ticked off, and she pulls out her cell phone and calls Nick, even though he's only a couple blocks away at this point because he walked off. Except it turns out Nick is out of town with his current girlfriend. He's not even in Boston. So Tess is kind of weirded out by that. So later that day, she's having drinks with her friend Lily and tells Lily about what happened. And Lily says, well, that's kind of strange because I've had some students tell me they've gone to this art gallery and there's an artist there who looks exactly like me. So Tess and Lily decide to kind of look into this. They stake out the area where Tess ran into Nick's double at around the same time the next day, and they see him, and even Lily's like, wow, that looks exactly like him. Then they go to the art gallery to see the artist that looks like Lily. And then some other characters run into their doubles, and this is basically your setup of the story. And it's a hell of a story. Christopher Golden actually is an author that, for me, has had his ups and downs. I think I've mentioned this in some of my other Christopher Golden reviews, that I first came across his work when he was writing Buffy the Vampire Slayer tie-in novels. And then I picked up some of his original stuff and really liked some of it. And then I kind of fell away. There were a few that I read that didn't really thrill me. But now he's really had this great resurgence. Again, this is for me, and there may be stuff that I missed in that downtime that's really good. But he's really, the last few years, just been hitting it with all cylinders for me. And with Snowblind and Tin Man, and now with Dead Ringers. Even though this, to me, felt like old school Christopher Golden, the feeling that I got while reading it was reminiscent to the feeling I had when I read The Boys Are Back in Town, which is probably my favorite Christopher Golden novel. No similarities in story, just similarities in what I felt while I was reading it. So this could have been written back at the same time. It just really is reminiscent of what he was doing back then. Not that that's a bad thing. But so I'm really on this Christopher Golden kick right now, always looking forward to whatever his latest book is going to be. So this came out. I had to wait a little bit before I could pick it up, but I definitely had to pick it up and read it as soon as possible. I'm really glad I did. The writing, as always, is great. You know, he's got a nice, straightforward writing style. The characters I really like. They're complex without being overly complex, if that makes sense. I mean, he gives us a backstory, and gives them all their own, personality quirks, fleshes them out without just bogging us down with the minutia of their lives. Tess has scars, both emotional and physical. 'Cause she was in an accident. So she's living with a lot of physical pain, as well as some emotional issues. She is divorced, and she and her husband have a child, ex-husband, have a child. So she still has to deal with him. And of course there's always, I guess, residual feelings. She's a really interesting character. Her ex-husband, Nick, I really like him. He's got a mild case of Asperger's, which I think makes for a fascinating character, because he doesn't deal with things the way most people do. So he's really cool. And Lily, and we get to know Frank while he's chained up in the basement. And there's Audrey, who is a bit of a psychic. Her main job, I guess, is debunking paranormal activity. Even though she knows that the paranormal does exist, she also realizes that 99% of what's out there is fake. She doesn't like seeing people taken advantage of. So, all of these people know each other in one way or another, and mainly what the characters realize is the doubles that they know of are of people who worked on this project a short time ago, relatively short time ago, I think. I don't know. They all worked on a job together. So Tess and Nick, Lily, Frank, Audrey, a couple other people were all on this particular job, and they all seem to have doubles. So they think there's a connection there. Crap, I lost my train of thought. There's another cool character, the blind man. Really, man, I could picture this guy so well in my head. I don't know if it's from being a comic book fan, but I could just see him as a character so clearly. And I could see him in a comic book, just almost as I was picturing him. It was almost as if it were like a splash page in a comic. But he's this crazy, blind, homeless guy who likes to sniff people. He's on some sort of trail. He's trying to pick up a scent, hunt somebody down. So he's a really creepy, interesting character. And there's these little sort of interludes, a couple, 2 or 3 things that are sort of just plopped down into the middle of the story, and we don't know what they have to do with anything else that's going on. But of course, eventually it'll all be explained. It all ties together, don't worry. But those were interesting little things, especially one in particular, because I think there was a special guest cameo. Yeah, so just a very well told story. Once we, the reader, find out what's actually going on, it's really fascinating to me anyway. The pace, it's never slow, but it does build, especially once the reveals start to come. The pace really picks up until, of course, the big finale. But I do like the character work. I swear there was something else I was going to say, and I cannot. It's like tickling my brain. I can't remember what it was. So, if I can't remember what it was, I'll go straight to my rating. Now, I had some trouble deciding what to draw. The actual numerical rating, that was easy. But the drawing, couldn't quite figure it out. Of course, I never want to do something that's going to spoil the story. Since this is about doubles, I could have just drawn a mirror, but that would be pretty boring. And I know I've done some boring drawings, horrible drawings in the past, but I didn't want to do that for this book. So I decided to go with a visual pun. So, Dead Ringers by Christopher Golden gets 4.5 out of 5 dead ringers. You see what I did there? They're zombie Santa Clauses with their bells. 4.5 out of 5 dead ringers for dead ringers. So there you have it. What was I going to say? If any of you can figure out what I was going to say, please let me know. I will, of course, have a link for the book in the description down below. If you have any questions, comments, or corrections, or you figure out what I was going to talk about, please put them in the comments below. Comments are open to spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to hem and haw here for a second and just kind of not talk about anything in particular and prattle on while I try to think of what the hell it was I wanted to touch on. I think this is the 3rd time I've recorded this review, and as always when I do it multiple times I tend to forget what I've already said in a previous video, what I haven't said yet in this video. So I guess none of us are going to know what I wanted to say. It's Dead Ringers, Christopher Golden. Fantastic, creepy, fascinating story. I was probably going to touch on the whole identity issues kind of thing, which is something that comes up. I mean, it seems obvious. Excuse me. It seems obvious when you have a story about doppelgangers that issues of identity are going to be a theme. Take, for example, Frank Lindbergh. As I said, he's not in the best place in his life. And then he runs into his double, and he starts to doubt whether he is worth anything. Frank starts to doubt. And he's, you know, with where he's at in his life, does he deserve to keep going? Maybe this person that looks exactly like him is a better version of him. Maybe this other version deserves to live Frank's life because he'll do it better. And some of the other characters kind of have these same sorts of thoughts. They wonder, you know, is this person a better version of me than I am? So you've got that underlying theme of identity. A lot of other stuff going on that for some reason I'm just drawing a blank. Horrible for a book review, I know. But I think I covered the main points. You know, it's well written. It's a really interesting story. It's really creepy. There's some crazy stuff that's going on. The characters are great. What else do you really need to know? If you must know, just ask me something in the comments below. So please like, share, and subscribe. And that's it. This has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been Eric Smith, I think. Until next time, read more books.